So there's a bunch of these all around the van, located on the sides here like this, here, that are located on the top of the roof. They're all the same, they all have a weld point where they've been welded onto the van. You basically just need to get rid of that weld point. There's two ways that I see that you can do it that are easiest. I don't think you can pull it off. I tried and I think it's going to be really messy based on my experience. So you can either drill it off or you can either cut it off. Let me explain. If you look in here, you can see where the weld point would have been, and I have drilled a hole into that to remove the weld point, and then I can pull it out. The key to using this method is getting a drill bit that's going to be able to drill out the entire weld at the top here, because if you miss some of the weld, then you're going to have to pull it and yank it, and you're going to get a really unclean hole. So if you look at this is what I'm talking about. I've had to drill right through the entire thing, and then I've missed some of the weld around the outside, so I've had to yank it and play around with it, and look how messy and gross that is. So now I'm gonna have to spend a lot of time filing that and cleaning it up, as compared to something like this, where I've purely drilled out the weld from this material here, and not from here, only just enough to get it out. So all I need to do with this now is give it a nice little sand and a paint, and it's all covered up. Comes straight off. You can see on the top here, I've also stuffed some of these up. I've had to drill right through them, and then I've had to sort of yank them up. So that comes from missing the weld point. These ones I've got the weld point, and they're much cleaner. So I would recommend using a minimum of an 8mm drill bit, but I ended up using a 10mm. The 10mm obviously is a bit harder to drill because you've got to drill more material, but then it means that you're not going to miss that weld point. Because as you can see here, the weld points aren't all in the same position. This one's right at the very bottom of it. This one's further up, and sometimes when you're looking at the metal, it's actually really hard to see where that weld point is. Some of them are really obvious like that, but you can see how different they are. This one's right in the corner. That one's in the middle. The other option is to basically cut off here with either a grinder or some metal snips or a hacksaw or whatever you want to use, and then you're leaving the weld in place and you just cut off that and you would paint that. I didn't do that because I didn't think it would be as neat, and I thought it might be a bit more messy. Lastly, before you begin, if you're doing any cutting or drilling, all these tiny bits of hot metal are going to be flying everywhere. They're going to get on you. Please wear glasses. I don't care if you wear hearing protection or whatever, but you have to wear glasses because it'll fly into your eye. Don't forget that if you don't have a floor like me or walls like me, these little pieces are going to be flying onto your metal and potentially burning through them, which is leaving a spot for future rust. So you have to be really careful, especially on the floor. Those bits are going to be flying onto the floor, leaving all these tiny little burns which are open to rusting in the future. So I would definitely want to cover the area when you're doing anything like that. It takes a fair bit of effort and a fair bit of time. I'm just now up to filing all this down, sanding it down and painting it. If you have another way, let me know, because these were the only ways that I could find.